Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. All right, let's jump to our cosmic weather for today. Cosmic weather. Let me set this up proper. There we go. Cosmic weather for today. Solar wind is blowing at 334.9 kilometers per second. We scroll down. We see our planetary K index is back down to a 1. It was up to a 3. Now, it's expected within the next 24 hours to get no higher than a 3. Let's look at our corona holes here. Still, we have something big underneath the surface here. So some activity going on up there. We've got M-class flares, X-class flares, only 1% chance that something's going to happen with that. And geomagnetic storms, very, very low as well. If you're in the high latitudes, you might have some sort of activity, 25% chance within the next 24 hours, and that's due to a storm cloud here. Here we go. The corona mass ejection expected to hit the Earth's magnetic field on the 9th seems to have missed. No signatures of an impact are evident in solar wind data. NOAA has downgraded the odds of a geomagnetic storm to no more than 10%. However, as we just saw, they have listed 25% chance of some sort of activity that's active in the next 24 hours, 2025. So there is something going on out there. Okay, something going on indeed. Moving right along, astrologically, same place. Sun sign, conscious mind, fire, ideas, creativity. Today our unconscious mind is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about higher learning, higher education, philosophy, truthfulness. Jupiter is the planet that's involved. It's a planet of expansion, expanding our boundaries out more than what they are. A lot of good stuff around Sagittarius. So that's our unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind is fire, but we're thinking of how to use these ideas, take them to the next level. Alright, so we got fire and fire working together. The moon is on its way back down to a new moon. We've got a little ways to go yet, a couple weeks. We're 80% full at the moment. And on our Mayan oracle, we're on the 4th position of this wave spell. The wave spell is the moon up here. It's 13 days. We're on day number 4, as signified by the 4 dots, also connected with the 4th tone. Okay, here's the kin for today, which is the human. 4th position, the human. Human has around it the supporting cast members. The guide is the star. Antipode, white wind. Analog, blue hand. Hidden, the moon. Alright, so these are the supporting cast members. So today is called a 4 human, guided by the star. Phrase for today is I define. Define comes from the number 4. I define in order to influence measuring wisdom. I seal the process of free will with the self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of elegance. And in the Gregorian calendar, it is Tuesday, April 10th, 2012. You look down here, see some of the other correlations of today. Today on the Mayan calendar is a 9 Chikan. And on the it's an 8 Pop. So we could see there's other readings that go along, so that way you can understand where we're at and try to kind of figure out how they all work together, the different counts. Alright, and then of course, remember the Zulkans down here. We could see where we are in relation to the whole grid. You start up here, you go all the way down, top to bottom, then you go to the next column, top to bottom. So we've made it through all of these different columns. We're now here. So we have a little bit more this column, then down this one, and then we begin the cycle all over again. Alright, so good information on this page. This is starroot.com. Check out the site. A lot of good information there. Alright, that is our cosmic weather for today. Moving right along, our very first story. Dirk Bradshaw is with us. And he's here to talk about more sites that potentially are going to be raided. Let's listen to what Dirk has to say. Always important information. Dirk, over to you.
Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw.
Can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives?
It is no secret that the MPAA was a main facilitator of the criminal investigation against Mega Upload. But while the movie studios have praised the actions of the U.S. government, they are not satisfied yet. Paramount Pictures Vice President of Worldwide Content Protection identified FileServe, MediaFire, WUpload, Potlucker, and Deposit Files as prime targets that should be shuttered next. The file hosting business has been in a permanent state of chaos since the Mega Upload shutdown in January. Many sites were quick to remove their affiliate programs, and some went as far as blocking visitors from the U.S. entirely. It is clear that site owners are concerned that their business might become a target, and if it is up to the major movie studios, that fear is justified. The movie studios claim that these rogue cyberlockers receive 41 billion page views a year, which translates to 5 views for every person on the planet. In recent months, the MPAA has criticized the business models of these and other cyberlockers on many occasions. For example, we got our hands on the MPAA fact sheet titled, "It's All About the Money, the Business Model of Rogue Cyberlockers," with an overview of the several affiliate programs some cyberlockers have in place. According to the MPAA, these programs motivate users to share copyrighted material, thereby promoting piracy. The fact sheet will most likely be forwarded to the Department of Justice with every new rogue cyberlocker that the MPAA reports. Whether the Department of Justice will act on these new referrals from the movie studios has yet to be seen. For now, they have their hands full on Mega Upload, whose founders told us that his defense team is working on a killer motion in response to the nonsense of the U.S. indictment. I'm Dirk Bradshaw for the Cosmic News Network. I return you now to Joshua Poet and First Contact. Flight. This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Here we go. This is the UFO News for today. We have 5 stories. First story comes to us from the Examiner.com and Roger Marsh. Line of lights puzzles California witnesses near Marysville. A California witness traveling north along Highway 70 toward Marysville reports observing a line of 4 amber sphere-like lights in the sky directly above the highway about 8:35 p.m. on April 8, 2012, according to a testimony from the Mutual UFO Witness Reporting Database. The witness pulled over to get a better look. Lights moved from west to east over the highway, and then they reconfigured from single file to triangle pattern, and one by one the lights disappeared, the witness stated. Another motorist pulled over in the same area and confirmed the sighting. Later, the reporting witness, his wife, driving ahead of them, stated that she also stopped to observe the lights. The witness tried to understand what the lights were. I thought it might be planes or helicopters, as Beale Air Force Base is near there, but these lights had no sound and did not appear to be attached to anything. And there was no strobes or landing lights apparent. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't conventional in terms we understand. Not planes, not helicopters, don't know. Alright. Moving right along. Next one also from Roger Marsh, this time in Texas. Texans report multiple lights overhead on April 6th from 4 locations. Multiple reports of fireballs, meteors, and hovering lights were filed from Central Texas on April 6, 2012 from 4 locations, spanning about 237 miles, according to testimony from the Mutual UFO Witness Reporting Database. At 9:20 p.m. Central Standard Time, a parent and 2 sons reported watching an orange fireball 3 times in the north by northwest sky, case 737169. Second object appeared about 5 minutes after the first, and the third object was seen about 10 p.m. The size of the object appeared similar to Venus, which was higher in the sky, the reporting witness stated. The object was orange in color and pulsated in brightness. The object seemed to be moving north-northwest and eventually faded from view. Approximately 5 minutes later, the same or similar object appeared to be the same general direction, but seemed to ascend from location further north. This time the object appeared like a fireball and seemed to be much closer. The object appears to be heading in our direction, and I became a little concerned that it would get too close for comfort. All right, moving right along. We're not going to go out to Russia. Petersburg, Russia. It's a compilation of 4 different witnesses in the sky above St. Petersburg on April 9th. All right. Now, I'm not going to play this whole thing. It's 7 minutes long. I'm going to play part of it, and then you can go and watch through the rest, because the links are available at firstcontactradio.com, right-hand side of the page, UFO News. All right, there we go. There's the lights. Either 3 individual ones or 3 part of a bigger object. There we got some more lights there. Very interesting indeed. Alright, there you go. Something for you to check out, research, see what you think. Let me know if you have any thoughts. Here we go, next story. Daytime UFO activity over San Antonio, Texas on the 8th. High altitude UFO was filmed over San Antonio, Texas. As I was sky watching, I noticed a huge glowing object that seemed to be traveling high in altitude. This object was huge and did not seem to be an aircraft, so I began filming. When zooming in, this unknown object appeared to be glowing. This object was clearly no aircraft. As you can see on the video stills, this object seems to be emitting some kind of energy. While I was filming, unknown began to glow extremely bright, did not seem to reflect the sun's rays, seemed to be glowing. I panned back to look for some kind of reference point. Alright, so let's take a look at what we have here. This is over San Antonio, Texas. Alright. There's our object in question. Alright. Still there. Alright, so there you go. There's the object in question. And one last story. Last story. Could UFOs, this comes to us from Laguna Niguel Patch. Could UFOs and cities' early beginnings be linked? It is documented in the land by petroglyphs or rock etchings, including those in Laguna Niguel, that indigenous people around the world have tried to describe or paint things that appear to be spacecraft or space aliens. Look at this here. The cave is located in Laguna Niguel, as well as many others throughout the city. Could early settlers have anything to do with UFO sightings? Alright, let's go on and read what it has to say here. Laguna Niguel, a city whose name is reportedly derived from a village called Nugali, was once inhabited by Native Americans who lived on the land and flourished. Some say the land could be sacred, and perhaps this is why there have been numerous UFO sightings here in the past decade, and as recently as last month. But could UFOs and Native Americans have in common? More than you might think. The Native Americans who lived in Laguna Niguel were the Juanino, or Acahaman, and received their Spanish name from the priests of the California mission. Today, they call themselves Juanino Band of Mission. According to Deborah Campbell, a local intuitive counselor, spiritual healer, artist, spiritual teacher, artist, and healer, as well as a Native American herself, it is documented in the land by petroglyphs or rock etchings and the like that indigenous people around the world have tried to describe or paint things that appear to be spacecraft or space aliens. Some exist in Africa, Australia, and some here in this country, she said. Native American tribes often conducted sacred rituals among along rivers, oceans, high places, and ley lines, which are natural energy grids along the Earth. These places sometimes had more minerals and crystals and thus had more energy, Campbell said. It is conceivable that UFOs would be drawn to the same energetic patterns in the Earth that the Native American shamans and medicine men and women were. Energy is energy, so there could have been some interaction in the past where the crafts were seen in the same area ceremonies were taking place. I'm not sure if the craft would have been drawn to the Native Americans specifically per se, because these types of craft have been seen all over the world for thousands of years. Alright. Let's see what else. I'll go on and read a little bit more here. Thousands of years, and rock carvings are closer than you might have thought too, with thousands of acres of wilderness and natural open space offering hiking, mountain biking, and equestrian use in the Laguna Niguel. Some parks and canyons at the south end of the Laguna Green Belt are favored with petroglyphs etched by native people. For example, according to OC Parks representatives, some petroglyphs were found around Laguna Niguel in the late 1960s, as seen in the photographs in this story. A report shared with Laguna Niguel Patch reads, the poorly preserved, faded red, orange, white, and black petroglyphs were found on a flat boulder on the floor of the mouth of the cave, on the ceiling overhang. The designs included a man on a horseback with a raised bow and arrow. There are zigzag designs, 3 triangles, concentric circles, a hook, a red cross, so on and so forth. Alright, so there's more to this article here. Let me zip through some of these other pictures we have. Alright, and there's a bunch more here. So something for you to check out, firstcontactradio.com, right-hand side, UFO News, and that's where you will find it. All right, time to take a quick jump to our wake-up song. I'll be back. Stay tuned. Don't go away.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brothers watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land and two if I see? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, welcome back. So, continuing right along here. Next story. We're going to get into the Obama situation now. Okay, look. There's a lot of talk out there about Obama, who he is, who he isn't. I've certainly played a number of things alluding to him as the Antichrist, and even has gone so far as to say Obama is the Antichrist based on Luke 10, verse 18, and the translation of Satan, Barack Obama. I think this is very important. Now, the question is about the Antichrist. Who exactly is this Antichrist? Is it one person? Is it an energy? What is it? You know, it seems like we've been trying to pinpoint who this actual Antichrist is, but I believe it is more than just one individual. That's why I can say that I believe Obama is the Antichrist. He's the face of this whole machine. The machine is the New World Order. It's those that are trying to kill and fight and take over the world. Well, Obama here in America, he is the face of that. And if you think about what an Antichrist might do, you think of deception. Well, when you think about what Obama has done, can you find any deception in him? Of course you can. In who he is, in his name, in his background, in his spirituality, his religion, in the policies that he puts out. He's the opposite of what he says. And it seems like it's been on and on and on. So he's anti things that he has even said. So he himself is an anti-type person. Anti-Christian. He's Muslim. Anti-American. He was born in another country, Africa. He's the anti-president, okay? So this story here is yet another one of these confirmations or stories along the way of somebody else who is pointing out the obvious. New Whiteboard video blast Obama's Islamist sympathies. Here's the so the new animated video created by accompany Andrew McCarthy's new book, The Grand Jihad, highlights the dangers of Islamism while explaining the history and overreaching goals of the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East. Additionally, alleges that the Obama administration has not adequately addressed and has continued to ignore the horrific potential associated with the group's power siege. President Obama does not see the problem. The short film's voiceover proclaims the Obama policy of courting the Muslim Brotherhood has not changed the brothers. It has empowered them to advance their anti-American program. The video goes on to explain the radical group's history when exploring the breakdown of the Ottoman Empire and Sheikh Hassan al-Banna, subsequent founding of the Brotherhood in 1928. Al-Banna, the video proclaims, hated the West, the anti-colonial, embraced Sharia law, and was intent on seeing Islam dominate across national lines. Alright, here's the video right here. I haven't even looked to see how long this is. It's 3 minutes. You know what? Let me play this for you here. There we go.
Today, the Middle East stands on the brink of full-scale conversion to Muslim Brotherhood fanaticism, yet President Obama does not seem to see the problem. President Obama's hand-picked director of national intelligence, James Clapper, said that the Brotherhood is, quote, largely secular, unquote. President Obama seemed unconcerned about the rise of the Brotherhood in Egypt. In fact, he invited Ikhwan members to his Cairo speech in 2009, tailored the speech to meet the Brotherhood's grievances and indulge his narratives, and cozied up to Muslim Brotherhood American satellites despite their involvement with terror groups all across the world. The Obama policy of courting the Muslim Brotherhood has not changed the brothers. It has empowered them to advance their anti-American program. They are now on the verge of control in Egypt and Libya, and their ideology dominates the Muslim world. But what is the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, in 1928, a young Egyptian educator known as the Guide to his followers and Hassan al-Banna to the rest of the world founded a group called the Muslim Brotherhood. The movement was virulently anti-colonial, but not because Banna was a nationalist or an Egyptian patriot. He was neither. Banna's loyalty was to the Muslim Ummah and the ideal that Islam must dominate across national lines. He was anti-colonial because he abhorred the West. The Brotherhood's development was spurred by Turkey's rigorous campaign of secularization. Following the final defeat of the Ottoman Empire in World War I, Kemal Ataturk had spearheaded a successful independence movement, expelling occupiers and establishing an independent state. Determined to turn westward, Ataturk drove Islam out of the public square and marginalized it in the classroom. In 1924, he abolished the caliphate, a symbolically shattering event for Muslims. Banna had drawn precisely the opposite conclusion about the sorry state of the Muslim world. For him, Islam was the solution. The problem had been too little of it, not too much, and not just any Islam. Banna had in mind a very particular brand, Salafism. The term Salafiyya comes from a phrase meaning righteous ancestors, referring to Muhammad and his companions. Banna believed that by mixing Islam with modernism, Muslims had strayed from the path, and the only way to restore the Islam of the founders was to faithfully implement divine law called Sharia. With Sharia's injunctions firmly in place, the Muslim nation would inevitably rise to the hegemony that was Allah's due. The Brotherhood remains the foremost power in the Middle East because of its credo. Allah is our objective, the Prophet is our leader, the Quran is our law, jihad is our way, and dying in the name of Allah is our highest objective. It's widely perceived to be representative of true Islam. In the late spring of 2011, the Mapping Sharia project published conclusions from an important study. After surveying 100 randomly selected mosques across the United States, the authors found that 81% of them disseminated Islamic texts that advocate violence. In nearly 85% of the mosques, the imam favorably recommended this literature for study by congregants. Moreover, 58% of the mosques invited guest lecturers known for promoting violent jihad. Now, this is the ideology of the Brotherhood, and this is the same Brotherhood that has dominated the so-called Arab Spring. It has played President Obama for a fool and the West for suckers.
All right, I always like to see drawing like that. It's pretty awesome. All right, so all of these ideals that are put out there, these Muslim ideals, are these the ideals of America? Take a moment to think about it. Are these the ideals of America? The answer is no. Therefore, couldn't you understand why it is a concern to have a president who has those ideals at heart? A president who is actually Muslim, who believes that those things should be implemented. Can you see why that is a problem, that that man would be the president in this country? Because other people don't believe those ideals are important. They do not believe these things. So for all of you out there who want to dispute the importance of this Obama thing, you really need to learn what's going on, because you're being badly misinformed. The man in office is not in office with the same ideals as you and your family. If you think he is, you better do your research, because he's selling you and all Americans down the river. And only by stepping up to it, and only by recognizing and sharing it with others, can America survive. Because all of the people that are confused and uninformed, well, they need to be informed real quick. There's more Americans than there are those causing the problems, but most of those are asleep, so you got to wake up. And when you wake up, guess what? We outnumber them. We can do what we want to do. We can tell them to follow our rule. We can put this country back the way it needs to be, and the rest of the world can go back the way it needs to go, because problem here affects problems around the whole world. If Obama's lying here, he's lying around the rest of the world too. So big problems, my friend, but they can be solved. We have to be willing to solve them, though. Now, big brothers here. New microchip knows your location within centimeters. This comes from Paul Joseph Watson over at InfoWars. The development of a new microchip for cell phones that knows the user's location within a few centimeters confirms the fact that, contrary to biblical fears about mandatory implantable microchips, people have willingly exchanged their privacy for convenience, and that the cell phone itself is a de facto mark of the beast. Broadcom has just rolled out a chip for smartphones that promises to indicate location ultra precisely, possibly within a few centimeters, vertically and horizontally, indoors and out. In theory, the new chip can even determine what floor of a building you're on, thanks to its ability to integrate information from the atmospheric pressure sensor on many models of Android phones. The company calls abilities like this ubiquitous navigation, and the idea that it will enable the new kind of e-commerce predicted on the fact that shopkeepers will know the moment when you walk by their front door or when you're looking at a particular product, you can offer coupons that instant. Over 82% of Americans own cell phones, and around half of these being smartphones. In the near future, the majority of Americans will own smartphones. They'll have the ability to track their location down to a few centimeters. So there you go. It's kind of a catch-22 situation, isn't it? People want to advance with better technology, thinking that those who are making the technology are going to have integrity and not be doing things like spying on them. However, eventually it does turn out that these organizations and companies, they get power in their hands, and power definitely goes into the wrong hands and becomes corrupted. That's the concern, because you get some idiots out there who want to start spying on individuals with this and abusing the power. And like all things, when power gets abused, people end up getting hurt, and that's not right. So if people stop abusing the power, and the only reason people abuse the power is because people feel insignificant in their own lives, and that by abusing the power, it somehow makes them feel better because they're trying to control somebody else's life. And it's always easier to control somebody else's life, especially if yours isn't in control. So we need to pay attention to these things, folks. Another of many things. Lots to pay attention to. You can't be a dumb person in the world these days because there's far too much stuff going on. Alright, the next story here comes from the Daily Beast. I just talked about people not knowing what's going on. Well, here's an article. Newsweek magazine. Why can't American students compete? Twice as many students in Singapore are proficient in math as the United States. Even brainy Massachusetts lags behind Liechtenstein. We know what it takes to compete for the jobs in the industries of our time. President Obama said in his State of the Union address this year, we need to out-innovate, out-educate, and out-build the rest of the world. Yet despite the economic crisis facing the country, the U.S. educational system remains frozen in place, unable to adapt to contemporary global realities. As all school children know, water freezes to solid, barren, cracked ice at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So maybe it is more than a mere coincidence that 32% of the U.S. public and private school students in the class of 2011 are deemed proficient in mathematics, placing the United States 32nd among 65 nations that participated in the latest international tests administered by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The United States ranks between Portugal and Italy, and far behind South Korea, Finland, Canada, and the Netherlands, to say nothing of the city of Shanghai with 75% proficiency rate. We became aware of the seriousness of the problem after we equated, with the help of the colleagues, the test scores of the class of 2011 on the largest international test when the class was in 10th grade or its prior 8th grade scores in the National Assessment of Educational Programs, an official U.S. test that both assesses the performance of U.S. students and sets the standard for proficiency. Linking these tests was also allowed us to compete the performance of students in each state with that of the states and other countries. The results are scary. Even in Massachusetts, with its renowned collection of public and private schools, students reach only the level attained by students in the entire nations of Canada, Japan, and Switzerland. Massachusetts, the only U.S. state with a majority of students 51% above the proficiency mark, traits well behind students in South Korea and Finland, as well as those in top-performing Shanghai. So we hear the talk out there that America's number one. Well, America's not number one in education, so what is America number one in? Blowing stuff up? Creating wars? Killing people? Yeah, America's probably number one at that, because we do have a military machine, which is basically a killing machine that over the years has gotten better and better at killing people. And so we are number one at that, I believe. But as far as the education goes, we're way, way down. Now, what happens when these students who have such low educational standards, what happens when they grow to the position where they're supposed to be running things? If they're not high on the list of education right now and they're not very bright right now, where are they going to be? If America's 32nd on this list, where is America going to be as it moves along? Way behind. Therefore, America will continue to be good at fighting wars because when people are stupid, they usually don't have anything better to do or better ways to solve a solution or problem than to go out and to fight. So since America is becoming dumber and dumber, well, the only solution is going to be Americans are just going to go out and fight because they're not going to be able to use their brains. I suggest that maybe parents pay a bit more attention to what's going on with their kids. See if there's ways you can teach them. And I suggest to the parents that if your kids are not educated, part of the problem relies with you. Part of the problem is with you because you probably aren't very educated yourself. You probably spend a lot of time watching TV and doing things that aren't good examples. So parents, you need to be better examples for your kids if you want your kids to learn. You can't have your kids being smarter than you. You need to keep growing and evolving and getting smarter. Schooling shouldn't end just because you left school. We've got a whole world here that's available at your fingertips for all the information you could ever want to know. So we need to work on this. We need to get better at education. It's not real difficult, but the education system has problems of its own. When we remember the story we did, was it last year? It was about Thomas Jefferson being taken out of the school books because they didn't feel it was proper because he talks about revolution. Well, that's part of the problem. Parents need to complain about this. Parents who know what the real history is need to complain that their kids aren't being taught what really went on in the world. We need to pay attention to our education and what we're learning. Here's another article from InfoWars. Tony Cartalucci. Confirmed terrorist organization trained on U.S. soil by U.S. military. Yet News reported in their article, U.S. operated deep in Iran, trained assassins. That the New Yorker reported over the weekend that the U.S. trained members of the Iranian opposition group Mujahideen-e-Khalq. According to previous reports, Israel has been cooperating with the group, which had allegedly carried out hits on Iranian nuclear scientists. Yet News also reported that U.S. officials doubt Iran is or will be developing nuclear weapons, as has been claimed to justify years of sanctions, covert subversion, terrorism, and unprovoked attacks by the West against Iran. It appears that not only Israel but the U.S. in tandem with Mossad have been training, arming, financing, harboring, and directing the U.S. State Department listed foreign terrorist organizations, Mujahideen-e-Khalq, since early 2005, where MEK terrorists were brought to Las Vegas, Nevada to train. The April 2012 New Yorker article, Our Men in Iran, by Seymour Hersh, elaborates in detail how Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, trained a listed terrorist organization on U.S. soil before sending them back to Iran with weapons and money to carry out anti-regime terrorist activities. MEK is suspected to be behind a rash of assassinations targeting Iranian students, scientists, as well as handling patsies in a string of international bombings U.S. and Israel officials attempted to pin on Iran. Alright, so I'm going to leave this to you because there's a lot more to this article. But if these terrorists came to this country, how did they get in? How did they get past the TSA? Because the TSA apparently is good at picking out all the little things that they do of the grandmothers and the little kids and fondling them and all the perverted activities they do. But a whole terrorist organization got through, came to this country and trained. So they had to fly here, go through the airport security, and get back on the plane. So 2 times they went through. What happened, TSA? How did the terrorists get by you? These were real terrorists training here on American soil. I guess it just goes to show that TSA, you aren't worth anything. You're useless. Absolutely useless. And the government here that brought the Mujahideen here and training here, this is our government. This is the United States government. People, wake up. They're training terrorists on American soil. You don't even realize it. And now that you know, you probably don't even care. It's a sad state of affairs, my friends. People aren't paying attention, and that's why things are happening. Bad things happen when good people say and do nothing. So before you get to the point of complaining that something's going on, do something about it before the problem gets worse. Because the situation requires every good American to stand up. Stand up and be counted. Don't sit down. Don't lay down. Don't go away. Your help is required now. For your friends, your family, the future of this country, you better stand up. Moving right along, here we go. The story is about Fukushima. Fukushima has potential to destroy the world and our civilization. Former UN advisor has come forward to warn that Fukushima has the potential to destroy the world and the environment and our civilization. This would certainly cause a global catastrophe like we have never before experienced. Such a catastrophe would affect us all for centuries, would force the evacuation of 35 million people in Tokyo, close to half of Japan, and compromise the nation's sovereignty. Such a humanitarian and environmental catastrophe is unimaginable. Alright, there's lots of articles here. You can read all about things that are going on, but sad state of affairs in Fukushima. We need to pay attention. The world is going through some big problems, and yet some people can only think about the little things that are going on. This is a big thing, folks. This affects your world. You need to pay attention. You need to share these stories. Alright, next up, this is from The American Dream. 19 things that talking heads on television are being strangely silent about. If the talking heads on the television don't tell us about something that happens, does it make that event any less real? Of course, the answer to that question is quite obvious. But unfortunately, too many Americans allow their realities to be defined by what they hear from the mainstream media. Way too many people used a phrase such as, "If that was true, I would have heard about it on television," to deflect conversations that are starting to become uncomfortable. Critical thinking is a skill that is in short supply in America today, and most Americans seem content to let their televisions do their thinking for them. Sadly, the pretty people on television do not spend a lot of time talking about the things that are truly important. Instead, they love to talk about the latest celebrity scandal, and they love to divide people into groups and get them fighting with one another. In this day and age, it is absolutely critical that we all learn to think for ourselves. The talking heads on television are concerned with keeping the bosses happy and with keeping the ratings up. Most of them are really not concerned about what happens to you. They just want to keep watching so that they can continue to earn more of their inflated salaries. Alright, let's look at some of these stories that have been ignored. Man knocked out, stripped naked, and robbed of everything as crowd of onlookers laugh hysterically. Now, I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is true. Someone was punched in the face, people videotaped it and laughed while it happened. Here's another story. Your cell phone makes you a prisoner of a digital world where virtually anyone can hack and track you. Yet people will continue to run out and buy the phones as if this is a selling point to go and buy the phones. 45 signs that America will soon become a nation with very tiny elite, and the rest of us will be poor. 21 signs that the UK is being transformed into a hellish Big Brother surveillance society. Vaccines and autism, the secret that you are not supposed to know. So, you can see there's a variety of important articles, important information here that you need to know about. Let me go ahead and these are some of the things that they aren't talking about here. Here's number one, strange things on the sun. Okay, we're not hearing about that. Fukushima. I just read you a story about Fukushima. When's the last time you heard about Fukushima on the mainstream news? Or let's continue on. Mount Fuji in Japan about to erupt. How about that? Not hearing about that? Stunning rise in volcanic activity around the world. Not a peep. Global food prices rising again. U.S. government debt downgraded again. $500 million to help the IRS implement Obamacare. Yeah, we're hearing about that on the news. Go to jail if you offend someone on the internet in Arizona. Passport suspended for not paying taxes. Preparations for war in the Persian Gulf. Mysterious mass deaths. The Federal Reserve monetizing U.S. debt. Giant sinkholes. Increase in global earthquakes. Increase in U.S. earthquakes. Evacuation drills at U.S. public schools. Strange sounds in the sky. Crazy tornado outbreaks. And Obama signs disturbing executive order. These things go on, and guess what? Most Americans just go by and they don't care. And I bring it up to people, and people act offended that I bring these things up to them. How could I bring such troublesome information into their lives? People need to wake up out there. I know I say it every day, but man, it's kind of embarrassing that we live in such a brain-dead society. I don't know how you feel about it, but man, I just can't understand how the people out there in the world operate in such a low state of intellectual development. It's mind-boggling how people turn a blind eye to the things that are happening in the world. And you know, the other day I was out and Fox was on, and who was it? It was what's his name? He's talking about slave, and he was talking to another gentleman, and the guy was talking about slave and slave wages, and the Fox commentator, he was Neil Cavuto, and he was telling the guy, goes, well, you're not really a slave. A slave is somebody that doesn't make any money. And as he's going on and describing, it's like Neil Cavuto is just as big a slave as anybody else. Because can he actually talk about what he wants to on the news? Nope, he cannot. I bet if he wants to talk about 9/11, he would be restricted on what he had to say. So those people at Fox, they're not journalists, they're commentators. They're just as big a slave as everybody else. Even more so, because they are taking money, and then in exchange for that money, they are misinforming you about what's going on in the world. So not only are they slaves, but they are actually counterproductive to the education of what's going on in the world. So got to take for a grain of salt what these mainstream people say. You got to read between the lines. So when you get a Bill O'Reilly that's starting to talk about how the internet isn't being honest, or how television isn't being honest, and reporters need to be called into question for their fact checks, people need to question Bill O'Reilly because he's one of the biggest offenders. So let's pay attention, folks. It's kind of disgusting to see this. It's kind of disgusting to hear on a daily basis how many people out there believe the liars that are on these mainstream programs. One of these days, they're going to find out that they were lying. And you're going to find out that they were lying. And you're going to realize that you were misinformed. And then you're going to feel really bad about it for a while. Because you're going to realize how you could be so gullible. Well, don't worry. There's going to be a lot of Americans who are going to be like that. A lot of Americans are going to wonder how they were so gullible. You were so gullible because you wanted to believe the good in things. And unfortunately, the country turned around with all of the liars, the lack of integrity coming from the administration, and then how it bleeded out into the mainstream media. That's how you got misinformed. You stopped thinking for yourself. So here's a good suggestion. Think for yourself. Think for yourself. See where that gets you. I bet it'll get you pretty far. It's amazing what can happen if you think for yourself. All right, this next piece here is a trailer to a movie called Dive. It's just short of 3 minutes. I want to play this. It'll direct you to the movie. I think this is very good information. And here we go.
So there are 3 basic rules to dumpster diving.
First one's to the dumpster has first dibs.
Never take more than you need.
Leave it cleaner than you found it. You leave it cleaner than you found it. Does that sound right?
Every year in America, we throw away 96 billion pounds of food, which means we're feeding our landfills as much as we're feeding our country.
All of these perfectly good eggs, because one was cracked. Just threw them all away. This is what they're doing with everything.
I eat much better out of the dumpster than I ever had before.
Look at that. Oh, the tri-tip asada?
That's pretty decent. I'm getting meat for my baby shower tomorrow.
From the dumpster at 1 a.m. this morning, 3 p.m. this afternoon on the grill.
I would say most of our friends are aware of the fact that we get all of our food in the dumpster, and I think it's pretty cool.
Rescuing food from the dumpster was great, but the question nagged me. Why is all this food being thrown out and not given to people who need it?
It's a big problem here in America, where you do have all that kind of food and resources available, that you still have people falling through the cracks.
Limes from Mexico and cheese from Germany and meat from Chile. You just let it rot.
I believe in what I'm doing. I'd be proud to say I got arrested for eating somebody's waste. That is where the conflict comes between what I believe is just and what is legal. This is a totally outside the system way of living.
If you guys didn't pick up that food would most likely go into the dumpster?
Yes, and if we're a few hours late, it's in the dumpster.
I guess these bananas aren't edible. That's why they threw them away.
The kind of society that would waste this amount of food is one that doesn't value the earth and the products it produces. It's in our own personal detriment to continue the process.
It's about more than not wasting food. It's about making sure everyone has enough to eat.
We have to help each other. That's what we're here for, to help everybody. And if everybody kind of took that attitude, you know, I think we'd be much better.
Check that out.
854 million people in the world go hungry. In the United States, even our trash cans are filled with food. You just have to go get it.
All right, very good. I think you should watch that movie. It is kind of a shame how much food does get thrown away in this country. I mean, just look on a daily basis when you're sitting down to dinner or any meal. Your plates will be filled up, and then just think how much gets thrown away. People don't eat their food. Or at restaurants, how much gets thrown away. It's pretty amazing, and it's pretty eye-opening to see. So watch this movie. Maybe it'll make a difference. Maybe the way that you'll start acting with the food around you might change. Maybe it might change somebody else. You know, maybe you'll make less, use less. Maybe you'll be dumpster diving. Who knows? Who knows where it will lead? But it's always good to have more information of this kind. All right, one last story here. This was on the front page of Yahoo. First planetary system discovered with more planets than ours. Scientists may not be having much success in the search for extraterrestrial life, but astronomers seem to have no difficulty in picking up the presence of new planets. Specifically, an astronomer at the University of Hertfordshire has discovered the presence of multiple new planets surrounding the star HD 10180, enough to give it the crown as the only solar system discovered to date with more planets than ours. Astronomers calculated the presence of the planets by analyzing the gravitational pools on the distant star HD 10180 with a high accuracy radio velocity planet searcher HARPS telescope. The first batch of HD 10190's planets were discovered in 2010, and Neptune sized about 13 to 25 times the size of Earth. The other more recently discovered planets are closer in mass to our planet, though much closer to their sun-wise than Earth. The planets follow a regular motion around their sun similar to our own star system, with periods between 1.2 and 600 days. In total, researchers have found 9 planets, one more than our solar system's 8. None of the planets in 127 light years away solar systems appear to be capable of sustaining life. More are so close to the sun that the scorched surface can't even sustain solid metals. All right, so there you have it. Another planet discovered out there. There's a lot of planets out there, folks. And yes, there's a lot of extraterrestrial life out there in the solar system and down here upon this planet as well. So even though scientists claim it's not there, it's there. It's all around. They just need to be looking for it, or be open to it, or something of that nature. I don't know. All right. Very last thing we're going to do today, as each and every day, is our meditation and our prayer. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and sit back, close your eyes, and relax. All right. Let's imagine that we are standing on the planet, and we jump. And as we jump and bounce into the air, we notice that we keep floating. and rising higher and higher until we get out into the atmosphere, to the upper atmosphere, into space, and then we're flying through space. And as we're zipping through space, past all the planets and the stars, we see all the wonderful bits of life that the great Creator has made for us. We realize that there are millions of planets out there, and the opportunities for life that exists is equally as great. We realize that there is an intelligent plan behind all of this creation, not just some random state of events. And we realize that we ourselves are part of this bigger picture. And as we realize our place in the universe and that we are connected to all, we bring our energy and attention back down to the planet Earth. And we look around at all the people around us. And we realize and remember that we are all in this together. That we are all connected and part of this universe. Just like the planets and the stars. And as we realize we are all connected, we realize that we have the ability to help each other. And by helping each other, we help ourselves. So imagine ourselves connecting with others around the planet. Imagine helping others, and imagine others helping you. And as you go through life and you're helping each other and making progress through life, you realize that everyone is succeeding because everyone is moving forward, because everyone is helping each other. And we realize that is the greatest lesson of all, that when we all work together and help each other, big things can be accomplished. Good things can be accomplished. By working together, we can overcome the problems, the challenges. We can stand strong. So imagine all of our chakras are activated from the bottom of the spine to the top of the head. Red at the bottom of the spine, orange at the belly button, yellow just below the rib cage, green at the heart chakra, blue at the throat, violet at the third eye, and indigo at the crown chakra, continuing into the cosmos as bright white light. Honor your connection to all that is, was, and ever shall be. Send love out all around the world to each and every being upon this planet, friends and enemies alike. And let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Alright, there you have it. That's our show, our prayer, our meditation. Thanks for being here today. We're just moving right along in this thing called life. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Go out there and have yourselves a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.